Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben and this is my review for Netflix's original series Reality Z. A zombie apocalypse that imprisons participants and producers of a reality show called Olimpo, the House of the Gods. The studio becomes a shelter for those who seek salvation in Rio de Janeiro, where chaos and hopelessness begins to rule. So this is a Netflix original Brazilian series that has 10 episodes and they're about 35 minutes apiece, and obviously we've seen a cornucopia of zombie series and movies. The genre has been done to death, so it's always intriguing to me that we get new series and new zombie movies. It's a thing that's become as stable in our viewing, much like vampires. It's done to death, but sometimes we get something unique. And so if you're wondering, is there something different? Is this going to be something original that's going to keep my attention? Well, let's find out. Now's the time to let me know what you thought about in the comments below about this series, and also what is your favorite zombie series or movies so far that you've seen in the last couple of years. Do chat to me in the comments below. I had high hopes for this series. I loved the idea of taking a Big Brother type of reality TV show and then having the world go to pots, and then have these people, because this Big Brother house is kind of contained and quite safe, these people, some of the contestants and other people around, come and basically use this house as a base to try and live and basically live around a post-apocalyptic world filled with zombies. And so that idea, that premise, I thought was very interesting. And then the fact that the episodes are about 35 minutes long, I thought, okay, so they're going to try and keep the pacing contained, quick and smart. The thing is, I found this series very hard to relate to because there's basically no backstory to most of the protagonists. You don't know who's going to survive most of the time, which would work sometimes if you have somebody to root for. There's normally got to be some sort of plot protection for a group, I guess, of protagonists that live for a certain amount of episodes, and then at the end you get the big culmination moment, and you kind of keeps you guessing at who is going to live. I guess in that way it's a little different, because in this one you kind of don't know who's going to live. You follow two groups of people really, one that's already there and a few that are coming to this house, and so you see from different perspectives, and I think that's interesting. Also, each episode starts with a new score, a new kind of music to set the tone for what they're going for, the vibe. It's almost always a contradiction to what's happening on screen. It's very ballad-like in the music that you're hearing, very kind of melodic and kind of, it would be peaceful to listen to if what you were seeing on screen wasn't just zombies eating people and people trying to survive. And so that I thought was an interesting technique, I guess, they use. It's a juxtaposition and it's a very different technique. So that is, I thought, was interesting. But we've had series and movies that do this much better. 28 Days Later, those two films were amazing. And we've had series recently even on Netflix that are better than this. For The Walking Dead, the first few seasons were great. It's a bit long in the tooth now, or a bit long in the brain now, but we've had others recently that take the genre, spin it on its head and do something different for it. We recently had a film where people were zombies and then they got cured, and then they have to live with what they've done when they were a zombie, and that's a new take. I love that take. And so when you look at the theme of this, it looks interesting at first glance. Unfortunately, a lot of the characters are not likable, and they don't have a lot of chemistry on screen. That's not their acting, and that's not the dialogue. It's more how the characters are written. The actors use what they've got, what they've been given, and I think sometimes there is some sort of chemistry between a couple of characters, some of them that they give more time to than others. It wasn't until I think episode 7, maybe 8 even, that I really actually liked one particular character. You see them about midway through, and they start developing, I guess, a backstory that you kind of have to piece together. It's one of those series that thrusts you in the moment, and that only works when what's going on screen is intense enough for you to be scared for the characters and care about what's going on. The thing is, I didn't care about any of the characters really. When a few died, and obviously this is a zombie series, so if you are going to die, I was like, well, okay, The most interesting thing about this series really is the zombie kills. That's always fun to see on screen. If you're a zombie fan, you will love the zombie kills in this. They don't shy away from blood or gore. There's a lot of it in this, and it's a 15. I'm amazed at some of the age restriction stuff that you can get away with nowadays. I thought for sure this was going to be an 18, but here in the UK it's a 15, which kind of boggles my mind. The amounts of like blood there is, and legs and arms being ripped off, and zombies eating guts. Wow, which is exactly what you expect to see. But there's nothing really unique, and there's nothing really scary. It's very generic zombie camera angles. There's no, I guess, jump scares even used as a tactic. They're just kind of there. A lot of going and movements of the heads, kind of generic. That's not to say they have to rewrite the book. Maybe they would, if it was a tight script and tight acting and it had a decent story, then you would just go, okay, this is another zombie series, but I still enjoyed that. The thing is, the story doesn't really go anywhere. The main base is 90% of where they spend this series. Even towards the end, when they start suggesting that there might be something else happening, or there might be a rival to their grounds, it doesn't really suggest that it's going to go anywhere further than that for the majority of the 10 episodes. And so when you have something that is a series that you don't really root for the characters, because you don't really care about them, none of them have decent backstories, and there's no real story, then basically what you have is a bunch of people running around trying to survive zombie apocalypse. And you end up maybe rooting for the zombies because the people that are on screen are either irritating or people that you want to die, because there's those characters that are so rubbish or just terrible having around in a zombie apocalypse. Those guys that will cheat, steal, and do anything or shove you in front of a zombie. Those are the type of characters that you want to die, but they're always, for some reasons, the ones that survive. It's typical for a zombie series that does this. If you go back and check the first season of The Walking Dead, you'll see how you are thrust in the moment, but it also has flashbacks and story development and characters. And the zombies themselves, the prosthetic makeup, have gradients. I would say that there seems to be one gradient for the zombies and also a mixed lore. At the beginning of this series, there is a guy that turns into a zombie that wasn't bitten, that didn't look like he was bitten, so for some reason he turned. And then there's the strength of the zombies. A zombie can rip off a head with a spine attached to it, but they can't break through a glass door. There's these inconsistencies throughout the series when it comes to the zombie lore that kind of takes you out of the series. I mean, I know I'm looking at a zombie series and making it a bit serious, but you have to have certain rules. If you know what type of zombie series it is or what type of zombie film it is, you have to kind of agree with what they're doing. And then once you're on board with the world and the lore that they've created, then you can go, okay, this needs to happen for them to be able to do that. These guys need to do this and kill the zombies in this way. You can't do that because these zombies have these certain strengths and this certain power. But it seems very inconsistent. Even the turning, some people will turn very quickly, some people will take a long time to turn. And that for me is just it's a bit rubbish, really. Once you establish rules to be consistent, like in 28 Days Later, even if you get a single drop in your eye, you can turn, and it's very quickly. Here, you don't know what's going on. I would say the prosthetics is okay, especially the gore makeup. That is all good. And there are moments where I enjoyed it, where I thought the story was going to get more interesting. I only rarely started enjoying, found it interesting from about episode 7. I found this very difficult and very disappointed in this because I think the premise is interesting, the storyline could be good. If season 2 does happen, I'm really hoping there's a massive arc, a world arc there that makes it the viewer want to come back to it. For the time being, I think they're very short, so it's easy to binge if you like zombie series. It's something you can stick in the background. It's not terrible, but it's not great. So I'm going to give this a C. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this series. Thanks so much for watching this review. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.